course, no one's actually watching the podcast for this. What they're really watching for what the podcast is for is...
Let's see. You're going to do some weightlifting here, some curling, some dumbbells.
Who can do more?
Who can do more?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, wow. That's pretty good.
Let's go with this. We're going to make Magento
great again.
Yeah.
All right, Jason, hey, thanks for taking the time to talk to me about Magento versus Shopify.
Yeah, no problem. It's a generic question that seems to be asked a lot these days.
It is. It seems to be a little bit popular. What's interesting about this conversation is that we actually provide Magento development services. We do not provide Shopify services. But I don't care about that. This is not a commercial for Simply PHP. This is a balls out, what's better, not a list of pros and cons, but just, what's better and how do you feel about it as a developer? And I'll give my opinion on how I feel about it as a business person and a non-technical person.
Yeah. I mean, listen, a lot of people sometimes could give a political response and a kind of a non-answer, but the reality is when you say Shopify versus Magento, which one is better, the premise of your question is already false. Because you need to add context to that, because it's going to depend on what your business requirements are. You cannot compare, because Shopify captures a certain set of requirements and features, and Magento is going to capture a certain set of business requirements and features. That's really the essence of the questions, not which one is better. So which one will depend on your particular business. You can't outright compare a desk, and it's a generic desk. It does like this. Desk A versus desk B. One's got nicer wood. One's going to last longer. This is a little bit more complicated than just which one is better. It's which one is better given X, Y, Z, B,
Is it possible that a business can basically fit into either or, and that business is looking at a decision, which way do I go, right? Fork in the road. Now, there's many factors. Are they a startup? Are they already in business? But is it possible that Magento and Shopify can fit the same business, and then it's just a question of, price?
So, if you did basically a Venn diagram on this of what exactly Shopify caters to and what exactly Magento caters to, Shopify will be here, Magento will be here. There is that overlap period. So Shopify, in essence, they don't even hide this fact. What they cater to is because it's a SaaS, software as a service. Yeah. So small to medium-sized businesses, and they're getting better at doing the more larger-scale businesses with Shopify Plus and some of the features they've launched recently with that, such as like having a wholesale website additionally to your B2C website.
They've started that?
Yeah,
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you got Magento, which is more medium-sized with the possibility to scale to a large-sized business. That sort of is capture field. So the overlap really is in the medium-sized business. That's where you'll have a decision to make. And that decision...
hang on a second. So you're saying that a small business doesn't even have a decision to make? Like a small business should go right into Shopify?
Unless you have an exceptionally unique set of requirements that you need the customization power of Magento to fulfill. And that cannot be done on Shopify, because one of the biggest sort of myths is that Shopify, you're limited to what Shopify does. No, you could still get third-party apps. You could still customize your template. So you still have, and just by out of the box, the settings to change around the template, they're quite good usually. So when you're starting off a business, for instance.
Okay, so let's go with a startup right away. So we're a startup. We haven't sold anything online yet.
Yeah.
What are we doing? Let's say we're selling, I don't know, think of something. We're selling...
you just need a functional website that you could advertise your product, has basically all the basic functionality of an e-commerce site should have, add to cart, you could view products in different sizes, options like that, and you could check out. If that's all you need, and then you could focus on the marketing, growing your customer base, then you would for sure go for the ease of use of Shopify, because your business can't handle the potential load you have to take on by managing your own website fully, which is what you would have to do with Magento.
Totally agree. I think that now, from my experience, that Magento is a disaster if you're a startup that doesn't have a business yet. And I've seen people who haven't sold one item yet, and they're all of a sudden going on Magento. They've obviously been misinformed. They've got the wrong information. And this is based on fact. Like, you need to go with Shopify, in my opinion, if you're starting out.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah. I mean, you could do just a SaaS in general. There are some competitors to Shopify, but that's clearly the king of the SaaS.
Yeah, right now we're talking
SaaS
Shopify,
business right now.
right? So,
yeah, because most startups would be starting with limited funds. If you're, let's say, Walmart and you're starting a website from scratch, you can start off with a Magento site because you're going to have a room full of developers.
yeah, I'm talking even if you have unlimited funds, but obviously you're not Walmart. But if you have a startup, let's just think startup right now. You have not sold one item online yet. You've sold some stuff locally, maybe some brick and mortar. You have funds. To me, there's no other solution other than Shopify. Am I wrong?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think that's really what matters, whether it's you're starting off or not. It's one, again, does that business that you're starting off, if you're about to sell products, do you need a unique set of storefront features that you cannot capture in Shopify?
Okay.
And maybe you need those from day one. The sort of issue
true.
is, most of the time, you will be correct. You should start in Shopify because you also don't necessarily know what exactly storefront features you'll need until you've grown your business online quite a bit.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of
understood.
a double whammy. So yeah, I don't think that's actually the essence of the issue. Is just because you're starting off is the standard that you got to be on Shopify. It's really down to, again, business requirements. Do you need a customized storefront experience? So again, the ease of use of Shopify versus the freedom of Magento, but that freedom of Magento comes at a cost. Can you handle that cost? And we have some general rules now. I mean, for me, if you're $2 million of sales a year with a pretty healthy profit margin is like the minimum for Magento. Anything less, you would have to really have a good reason to be on Magento rather than a SaaS.
Okay, gotcha. So in my scenario, I'm a startup. I'm just selling items. So there's no real customization. Like, you don't get to pick measurements and things like that. And I know you're thinking like a programmer, but as a business person, I can get up and running on Shopify. What was it take like a day?
Why stop
a day
there?
Or two?
If you're just selling the item, even if you grow to $100 million a year business, why change from Shopify?
I don't know.
The standard again isn't whether you're starting or how long you've been or how big your business is. That's not the standard between deciding the two platforms. So yeah, you could be, let's say, 5-6 years up and running, $100 million a year in sales. If you're just selling,
and you can stay on Shopify.
Yeah, if you're just selling products, Shopify can scale.
Then why do people who have successful businesses on Shopify, $100 million a year of sales, why do they inevitably complicate their lives and go to Magento? Is it because they say, okay, how do I improve? How do I optimize? Is there like so many features that Magento can offer them that it's so enticing that they do that? Why don't they just leave good enough alone?
That's a good question. You got to ask them.
Yeah.
No, but that's essentially kind of personal. Like, this is one of probably the issue that we're trying to sort of unravel for prospective watchers of this is why take that leap? Why take that risk? Especially Shopify. It's probably going to be around for a lot longer. It integrates with a lot of ERPs, a lot of things. There's usually an app for it. So out of the box, you could even argue Shopify has more features than Magento out of the box. The thing is now, let's say you're at that point, you have a lot of sales. You don't even need to be at the 50 million mark. Let's say you're even hovering around the 2 million mark, and you're at that point.
2 million of annual sales. Okay.
Yeah, and you're at that point. You're deciding do I need to go through that whole hassle of dropping a good amount of money on developing a website and then fixing all the bugs that are going to be with it.
With Magento.
Yeah, with Magento, because keep in mind it's open source. You're responsible for even the core bugs. You're responsible for that. You're responsible for updating it, building on your own pipelines. That whole bundle of issues that you're gonna have to deal with. Then
there's
So
there's
then
a lot of issues with Magento.
at what point do you say it's worth it for me to now invest a significant sum of money, take a pretty big business risk to re-platform? Because re-platform is not easy. Because one part of re-platforming is also data translation, bringing data from X to Y, or A to B, for instance. Just Shopify doesn't make that easy to leave Shopify because they use for their products, product ID is their unique identifier. Every other e-commerce platform uses SKU. So sometimes you can have products on Shopify without a SKU. It's like, How do you translate that to Magento? You got to, a lot of pre-built scripts will just take the name and then, lowercase it and put, hyphens, and then, that's what they build. And it's like, is your business ready to, operate off a SKU instead of a product ID? Little things like that. And like the data translation, it's you're kind of like translating a language. It's not easy. So again, back to the original question is, why? At what point do I say it's worth it for that? I mean, that's just a business decision. You have to now think is, okay, because as a business, even if it works, you always want to grow. You always want to grow because
and optimize.
Yeah, part of business, because you want to grow for two reasons. One, you want to make money, and it's moral to make more money, because it means you're providing a service and people are buying your service. So you're doing good for yourself and others. So growing a business, one, I think it's your ethical responsibility to grow your business. Two is you have prospective competitors in your industry all the time. You got to grow so you get more money to reinvest, innovate your business all the time, or else you're finished. Even if Facebook says tomorrow we're not going to reinvest or innovate at all, give it a year before someone else comes in. Obviously, they're going to be around because they do that. So,
but just to hang on now, just to go to your points. How does moving from Shopify to Magento grow your business, right? Like, so I've seen a lot of challenges in that transition.
Yeah. So what you would need to do then is decide, okay, the additional features that I can add to my website at cost X.
Yes.
Okay.
Name me two.
Cost X.
Name me two features that I can add, or let's start with one. Name me one feature that I can add by moving to Magento that is going to bring me value instead of staying on Shopify and taking that money and spending it on marketing, for example.
Yeah. So again, in Magento, you could kind of add any sort of feature you want, assuming there are still some limitations, like if you're really fighting the framework. So let's just try to think off the top of our head of something you can do in Magento that you can not do in Shopify, or very difficult to do in Shopify. Because remember, there is a way to customize Shopify only through the API, so you're a bit limited.
What's the language that Shopify is written?
It's
if
built,
I need someone to
it's in Ruby
it.
internally, but that doesn't matter because
Ruby internally.
If you're building a Shopify app, app, you're talking through the API. You can be whatever language you want. You view yourself as just an integration. You could even be a microservice.
Okay, so a Shopify app could be written in PHP. It could be written in anything.
No, it's in Ruby. The Shopify, your storefront base code will be in Ruby. You have your template language, I think is .liquid files, and then a third-party app only connects to the API, so i.e. a service contract.
Yeah.
And you could have your third-party app hosted anywhere, written in any language.
Okay, so that's what I meant. So the third-party app can be written in anything. Yeah. Okay, so back to the original question.
What's something you can do on Magento that you can't do on Shopify?
Yeah.
Just think if you wanted
abandoned cart feature.
That's there in Shopify. All those basic features there. But let's say you wanted customers logging in, and if they're in a certain region, they get added to a list that you're going to then send, catalogs to these people. You want to add, they add this item to cart, and you have these very weird rules where you want, okay, then add this sort of free item to cart. You can do sort of watered down versions of these on Shopify. And just think even in your product page, if you have like a unique set of, let's say you're selling mattresses and you have, and different countries have different, rules. Like let's say a king size is not the same in the US versus the UK. So you could have a really custom, you could even add to the, advanced configurable products in Magento where you can handle all these edge cases and then, whatever you think, like any sort of unique customer experience that you think would take you to the next level.
Okay.
That you can do on Magento more easily than you can on Shopify, because Shopify is either going to be a lot more harder to do those customizations, or if not impossible, because going through service contracts does have its limitations. Then that's the decision you got to make is, okay, I'll go on to Magento. It's going to be worth this risk because over time we're going to build these features that are not possible in Shopify, and these features will grow our business to the next level. This is how we're going to, take us from 50 million to, whatever their projection is.
Okay, I understand.
So that's really the heart of the issue when you say, and that's why I don't like the question, which one is better, because they serve two different sets of needs.
I totally agree. I don't think that, and I like that you said that at the beginning of this podcast, is that it's really hard to compare and say Shopify versus Magento because it depends on your needs. It really depends.
Yeah.
It's not quite apples and oranges for me, but it's very close. It's really relative to the person that's looking at it.
I mean, yeah, listen, like you could also go a little bit more philosophical. Magento, you own everything yourself. You self-host. Well, you pay a hosting company.
Wait. Before we go down that road, because that's an interesting road too. But just to finish on what we were saying, so basically, I can be a startup on Shopify. I could succeed. I could be awesome. My sales could be through the roof. Then eventually, in order for me, and don't forget, if my sales are through the roof, then I'm also learning a lot about my clients, and I'm learning a lot about how I can make their client experience better, how I can upsell them, how I can optimize their visit on my site, hopefully make them spend more, hopefully satisfy them more. So that's the time when I'm a Shopify guy and I'm saying, you know what, it's time, I've reached the limit of Shopify and I need to move to something that's more customizable. So that's when I move to Magento, and that's when I start. Now I have the budget also to pay for, because Magento developers are not cheap.
Yeah.
Magento customization isn't cheap either.
Yeah, and you got to handle the headaches of updates and you got to be on top of this stuff. And the platform by default, I don't find Magento 2 particularly that hard to use. There's many tutorials to put online, but even like just basic editing pages and CMSs and stuff, so your content management system pages on there, it's a little bit trickier in Magento. It's really nothing that should not be a blocker for a client, but even the basics of it tend to be a bit more complicated than Shopify.
I was actually talking to a prospect here in the city, and one of the main reasons why he wanted to stay with Shopify or actually move from Magento to Shopify, and he's hugely successful. One of the reasons was that his designers in-house found that Magento was too complicated to do exactly what you just mentioned. So that's an interesting point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe they didn't have an hour meeting with me where I could show them how to do it, but I don't think that should be your blocker. But I mean, listen, you do change in Shopify, and it's reflected on the storefront right away. Magento, you got many layers of caching that you manage yourself. Maybe they can get confused because they don't know how to clear cache or something along those lines. And do you really want them then tampering with those settings? Because if you have a high traffic website and you have a designer that deploys a change to something that requires the cache to be cleaned. In the peak hours, and they go and they flush the cache,
Yeah, well,
that could have some bad results.
I can only assume that their development process is gonna catch that.
But again, that's something you gotta manage when you're on Magento.
Mm-hmm.
That's another thing you have to manage. You have to you own the website completely. No one can take it away from you. Shopify. That's one thing is you're using it kind of like it's software as a service. It's like you're renting a website from them. You're renting a space.
Okay, so let's get let's get into that a little bit. They
can take it away from you if they want, and let's not forget Shopify loses money right now. They're following the Uber model, and we've seen with WeWork sometimes these things explode. I don't think Shopify is going to explode like WeWork, but that's something to have sort of in your backlog.
But let's talk about that now, because now we're bringing out something that's to me is another major problem with Magento is so now we're talking about customization. So you can spend literally years and hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, on your Magento platform. It's working, it's amazing, it's doing everything that your business needs it to do. It's perfect. Guess what? Your version is no longer supported. So everything you've done over those years, thrown in the garbage, and you need to rebuild. Now, I'm talking about the Magento 1 to Magento 2. So we know that Magento 1 in June 2020 is going to expire. So everyone who's invested all this money in their e-commerce platform have to start over again. So again, and I'll just clarify, we don't even provide Shopify development services. We specialize in Magento, but I'm being completely open and transparent and saying as a business person, this is a little bit ridiculous. What do you think about that?
Not really. I don't really agree because I don't think that's so ridiculous. Because that's like, you had Magento 1, which was built, I think, like in the 2006. I was in high school when it was.
So let's say for the past 3 years, I've been building my Magento 1 website. I've been spending hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's doing exactly what I want. My business is great.
Yeah.
Now what?
Well, listen, all good things come to an end.
I'm screwed.
At some point. But that you're going off the assumption that Shopify would never release a Shopify 2, and eventually you'd have to move over to Shopify 2. Very unlikely, because I think they'll just keep building on Shopify 1. They got continuous integration nailed down. I personally know people that work on their DevOps teams and work on the proprietary code there. We are in Montreal. They have an office here.
Yeah.
I know someone that also works on their data science team. So I do get some privy to some information that goes on there.
Don't share anything private, by the way.
Yeah. They're actually closing tomorrow. So you got to go to Magento. No. But yeah, so Magento 1, it's because that original framework now was built on like technologies from 2000, the early 2000s. This has to change
fine.
to Magento 2.
I don't
the
care.
Evolution.
I don't care. I understand. Well, I don't understand, but I don't want to understand. But as a business owner with an e-commerce store that's doing great, I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on it. All of a sudden, Magento's knocking at my door saying, by the way, we're not supporting that anymore. You have to rebuild.
Yeah, of course. And I don't think...
This is horrible.
Not really, because I don't think that's something that you can avoid. Because I think what a lot of people realize, we've had clients come to us in the past and they have like issues with their website, and it's like they haven't done any maintenance on it in forever. A lot of people think, yeah, you buy the website, you get it set up once, and that's it. I'm not going to touch it for 5 years.
But
that's crazy.
In my scenario, that's not my case. I'm an e-commerce. I have a beautiful business. I have a Magento 1 e-commerce site that I've spent hundreds of thousands. I've maintained it. It's humming like a perfect engine. I'm doing great. I have to completely trash it and rebuild.
Yeah, and I mean, if you were a client that was
problem.
diligent, that it was maintained and kept up,
yes,
you would have known that you got to go either re-platform to Magento 2 or an alternative, and you were warned a while ago. But it's almost like when you have a site on a store, you're paying like your mortgage, like you gotta every month, mow the lawn, you gotta pay the hosting and the updates too. Because if you have a house, you gotta update it. So you can kind of view Shopify more as like you're renting a really nice condo. You just pay that free, and you don't gotta worry about anything. Water price breaks.
In your example,
Magento is you're paying condo fees, your house is there, and there might be some.
And the city comes and
there might be
demolishes it.
Yeah, and there might be termites in your foundation that your contractor has to fix, and you gotta pay him for that too.
So, but I think, though, in this scenario, and I don't want to hit her over the head, but I'm just trying to demonstrate how destructive it is as a business owner. It's like you have a house, you're maintaining it, everything's great, and the city comes and says, we're going to demolish your house, you have to rebuild. That's completely what it is. So with Shopify, that's never something that's haunting me, right? It's not something over, because when's Magento 3 going to come?
You can't predict that. What if the company goes bankrupt?
That's true.
Right now, keep in mind, they are still losing money right now. The genius of sort of Shopify is that they own the payment processor as well. But, Lightspeed is growing. What if Lightspeed kicks their butt real soon?
Yeah, that's true.
What if Lightspeed drops their own SaaS and
But Magento 3 is a certainty, though. Like, Shopify going bankrupt or all of those other scenarios.
It's not like it's every 2 years they release Magento 1 and Magento 3. Magento 1 had a lifetime of probably a decade.
So 10 years? Okay.
Decade
So
more than a decade, actually.
Magento 2 now, I'm getting into it. It's going to be
there's no Magento 3 coming
years.
anytime soon. But that doesn't really matter as much, too, because that doesn't mean there won't be significant changes in Magento as well. Like Magento 2.3 to 2.4 might be a big jump, because they might rework how the front end works, because they're using a very old and complicated technology stack. So you might still have that, but you cannot go with the mindset that, I was on this platform, I've invested so much in it, and it's it's bullshit that I got to move to a new platform. That is a certainty in this business. There's no way around that. Even I doubt if you made a store on Shopify right now, you zoom 30 years into the future, and you wouldn't have had to do something similar, even in Shopify.
30 years is it's more if I got into Magento 3 years ago, I might not have even known that they were going to do the Magento 2 thing.
Well, Magento 2 existed 3 years ago.
Okay,
so
sorry.
I better hope you know.
I mean 3 years before Magento 2 came out, and it was super buggy when it came out. So 3 years before it came out, if I got into Magento 1, I might not have known. And
Yeah.
I just find it's
I
quite
could see
destructive.
that edge case being annoying, but Magento 1 still has persisted with support now. So Magento 2 came out early 2016
Yeah.
or late 2015. You know,
I remember it was super buggy for the
we're
first
about
year.
to hit 2020, so that's a good 4 or 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So that Magento 1, so if you had that 3 years before Magento 2 came out, Magento 1 has support just till June 2020.
Yeah.
That's, you know, a 5 year of extended support. So that's an 8 year time period you just defined.
Okay.
To think that you might not have to re-platform during 8 years is, I don't know, wishful thinking.
Okay. Fair enough. So you're saying that the life cycle of an e-commerce platform is probably 3-4 years before you have to totally rebuild, or
No, I wouldn't. 3-4 years is a bit short.
Yeah.
But again, it depends. Who knows? Maybe they could always drop Magento 3 on us tomorrow. Who knows? Maybe they've been working on it in the background. But a certainty is that, especially if you're on an open source platform that you manage yourself, at one day, you know, these frameworks are built on certain technologies. Yes, you can update them so much you can update them, but eventually you probably have like a massive update, that Magento 3 or something, where it's basically a new platform and you got to re-platform.
Okay.
And that's pretty much a certainty.
yeah, it's a complete rebuild. So it's
But this is like you know this, like it's like if you bought a Range Rover, nice car, they always break down. You know you're gonna have to go to the maintenance shop, you know,
Well,
once a month.
It's very easy to replace a car, though. It's not easy to totally rebuild your
No,
e-commerce
not at
platform.
all, not at all.
It's,
That's why you go, as a e-commerce owner, you got to be on top of this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just so sad that you have so many people that are not on top of their e-commerce and they just get into terrible situations.
Yeah.
Real bad.
So can we talk about proprietary information now? So you were alluding to a little bit earlier that with Shopify you don't own anything, and with Magento you own everything. So
Yes.
so
sort
so
of.
so let's talk about Shopify a little bit. So now they own the code. They can basically
You can't see the core code at all.
Can't see the core code.
No.
Okay, so they can take you off of there anytime they want. And in your example, if something happens to them, they go away.
Well, example,
gonna have to,
they kicked off most of the gun websites, you know. So there's a few industries they won't touch. So, I mean, now you might be someone that's selling, I don't know, blankets. They're never going to kick off a blanket website.
Yeah.
But, you know that they might change their terms of service. They might do something. Something might happen to the company. You know, that's kind of like on Magento that you're responsible for updating your things. Your business is also attached to the success of that company. And we've seen companies that look absolutely unstoppable and then have a big dip. Will that happen to Shopify? If it was a betting man, probably not. But it's not. It's something you should also consider.
So basically, Shopify can turn off your business if they wanted to, right?
That's the question. When you're with Shopify, your business becomes increasingly relative because they're part of your business now. Like they own a chunk of it. They service your storefront. You're again renting space there. So it's hard to say your business becomes their business.
Okay, I see. So in your example, you're renting space in a building that you can be evicted, and you're gonna have to like find another spot, find another platform, all of that good stuff. Now, Magento's not that case, right?
No. I mean,
now how is that? So Magento's open source. You download the free software, right? Can you take us through that?
You also have the commerce version, but just set that one aside.
Yeah, forget about the commerce version for now.
Yeah, go with open source.
Yeah. That's another video. Does it even make sense to go with to spend thousands of dollars a month on either, whether it's Shopify Pro, whatever they call it, or Magento Commerce? Yeah. That's another subject. But let's talk about the open source, the old community version.
Yeah, so you could just download Magento by default. You install it. You're going to need a developer to install it. It's not like
from
Shopify.
Day one, you need a developer.
Yeah, that's a given.
Absolutely. Interesting, right? So you got to find a developer. You're talking about pretty hefty hourly fee for Magento developers.
The quality of Magento developers varies quite a bit. So, I mean, your business could potentially be correlated. The success of your business can be correlated with how good your developer is. How are you going to know if the guy is good or not?
That's interesting. So in Shopify, you're relying on Shopify to stay afloat. In Magento, you're relying on your developer to let's list it: be good, be responsive, all of that good stuff.
Yeah.
Stay alive.
Yeah, pretty much. Like if I had a heart attack right now, there might be a few clients that it's gonna be a bit of a headache for them.
Yeah.
So hopefully I don't get a heart attack.
Yeah. Drink some more water.
Although I'm a San Antonio Spurs fan and the season hasn't been good, so
No.
I don't know. Maybe a heart attack is not such a bad thing.
But that's interesting. See, that's something that I didn't think of. It's yes. So we've been talking about if you are a Shopify client, yes, you are relying on Shopify. But if you're a Magento client, you're relying on developers.
Yeah, and the hosting too. A lot of people go into managed hosting. You're also relying on those companies. So I don't know, a good example, we have some clients on Mage Mojo. What if Mage Mojo went bankrupt tomorrow?
Yeah.
You know, we got to move them somewhere else. Now you could buy your own Amazon servers and set up your own cloud architecture or single server if you want.
Yeah.
But you got to build that. Your dev team has to build that. Maybe you need to hire a DevOps or a system admin to set this up for you if your dev can't do it. So
I've actually seen people with e-commerce platforms, people on Magento, but never even launched. They lost thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars dealing with developers that didn't do what they were supposed to do.
Yeah, I mean
that would never happen with Shopify, right?
Yeah, but I mean you can't really knock Magento for that as well.
No, that's true.
Because that's just like part of the freedom of Magento, the open source. You manage your own thing on your own versus the Shopify where create account, put your credit card, and you right away you download a template and you have your site working. That's not really an issue with Magento because Magento doesn't.
Sign me up for that.
Yeah, Magento doesn't sell itself to be something that easy to use.
Yeah.
No
Yeah,
chance.
that's true.
Those people that are spending thousands of dollars because they just got they don't know how to manage any sort of this platform.
Yeah.
They don't know how to manage an e-commerce site, the technical side of it properly. And then they probably did not get devs that knew what they were doing. They probably said, we'll pay cheap and we'll get a freelancer or this and that. And then that's the recipe for disaster. And then you've got changing developers and this guy might have done something. This guy done something really stupid like hack the core.
Well, that's it. Then that's the purpose of these podcasts most of the time is to help people out, right? So to add value. So if someone is not technical and doesn't have the experience to manage a dev team or the resources to manage a dev team, Magento is not for them.
Yeah, or you go to an agency. And then
even then, that's dicey too. You know, the agency. I've seen agencies let people down as well.
Yeah, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's always more safe agency because they're used to managing devs.
Yeah, no, but I mean,
they come with a reputation as well.
If you hire the wrong agency, which I've seen a lot of people do,
yeah,
they hire. I'm not going to knock any particular area in this video. I'm not going to talk about where geographically the good agencies are, the bad agencies, but I've seen a lot of people get into trouble because they use Magento.
Yeah, it's a known fact. The
and
best Magento agencies are located on Peel Street in Montreal. But and one of the other sort of things is a lot of times is people will hire an agency, but they hire a marketing agency, and then they hire internally like one or two Magento devs.
Yeah, who are beginners and everything. So yeah, there's a lot of.
They're awful. They're awful. Sometimes, not all of them, but some of them are really bad.
There's a lot of massive problems, and to me, I think that anyone starting out on e-commerce, anyone who's not huge, anyone who's not selling millions and millions on an annual basis, to me need to go to Shopify. That's what I'm getting from this conversation.
Yeah, that's not even up for debate.
Cool.
It's, again, because that's not what even Magento advertises to do anymore.
Absolutely.
It's not. It's medium to larger scale.
Yeah.
A little bit of small if you have specific requirements and you have the, resources or someone or you're a developer yourself to do it yourself.
Oh, that's a great question. Hang on a second. Let me ask this question. I think everyone knows where I'm going. If you had a business idea tomorrow, let's say that you stumble across this amazing pillow idea. Okay, pillows. All right.
Let's say duvets. Let's say duvets.
Duvets?
Yeah.
No, some people don't even know what a duvet is.
Okay.
So let's say pillows, and you're going to open an e-commerce store. You've got a couple months to set it up. You're going to get your marketing ready. What are you, Jason, going to use? Are you going to use Shopify or are you going to use Magento?
Well, I could be the exception to the rule.
No, I'm asking a Magento developer, which you are, so.
Again, even as a Magento developer, does this business, do I need Magento to run this business? No. I can get it with.
You're selling pillows.
The headache list.
You're
SaaS
selling pillows
for $80 and maybe 2 days of work. I can set up the basic site on Shopify.
Yeah.
I'd rather play Fortnite on Saturday than deal with
that
a spinning checkout because the geniuses at Magento core base decided to add this to the update that broke this and doesn't work with this extension.
Okay. So if you're opening up an e-commerce site 30 days from now or 60 days from now, you're going with Shopify.
It depends on the requirements and the
you're
funds,
selling
of
pillows.
course. But
you're selling pillows. You have unlimited funds.
Yeah, I would go Shopify or Volusion for sure.
All right. It's good. Well, I'm glad. I'm glad you're honest.
Well,
I'm glad we're honest too, because again,
this is the question though. Like, where do you fit? Should I go this or that? And who cares whether I'm a Magento developer and I could build a site pretty much by myself over the weekend, a basic Magento site, if I'm not doing any customizations. Yeah, I could set that up easily myself too, but that's not the right fit.
Yeah, exactly. So in a couple of years,
like
you're
the
selling.
Army's not gonna buy knives to take over a country. You gotta buy the big guns.
Yeah.
But if you're killing little rabbits or something by your hand,
don't
you
kill
just need
rabbits.
knives. I don't know.
No,
It's
why
like you
rabbits?
gotta find the right
I
solution,
like rabbits.
the right fit.
Yeah, exactly. So if
That was a terrible analogy.
I know it was.
We'll edit this out.
It was. Don't kill the rabbits, George. So, but in a couple of years, you're selling millions, let's say $10 million a year. You're probably going to get into trouble and you're going to say, you know what, I want to get into Magento because I want to complicate my life. I want to optimize the experience for my clients. I mean,
listen,
do more than
and
Shopify.
at the end of the day, it sounds like, oh my God, Shopify is the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's like, no, Magento could be really good and can drive you with huge revenues with the customized storefront experience. This can set you apart from your competitors. The big caveat to that is, one, you can't be small and on a limited budget to do this, and you got to find the right agency that has competent developers as well.
Yeah.
Get a competent hosting platform as well. I mean, Magento sites done well will be ultra fast. If you have a good dev team, it should be very stable. I mean, they'll have to take care of the updates. They're the ones that will have the headaches of updating and dealing with making sure the core stays stable.
Yeah.
That's that. So yes, there are some clients. No, you should be on Magento. Because if you are gonna go medium to high scale business, I would say, and you need these storefront features. Yeah, Magento is still the market leader in that for sure, 100%. When you get super high, you can maybe sort of debate Demandware versus Magento, but even then, Demandware is going to cost you a lot more.
Okay.
A lot more.
Cool.
Now you need a dev for Shopify.
No, you can set up the store by yourself. Even on Shopify too, it's like.
Oh, you don't need a. Yeah.
But I mean, some people think it's gonna. Maybe one thing we should talk about is like some people on Shopify that. Some people will think though that yes, you pay the base fee, you have your basic website, you can customize the templates through the Shopify admin, you could do some things. But if you start really needing some customized work on it, like a custom homepage, you want it to be some crazy grid and stuff like this, or something that, if you got to then build a custom third-party app in Shopify, or really customize your template quite a bit, I mean, that's not going to be no different than Magento. You're going to drop quite a bit of money on that. The nice thing about Shopify is you have apps, so a lot of the apps already cover like, oh, I need integration to this sort of shipping platform. Usually it's there already, but Magento too, because it's still one of the more premier e-commerce platforms, has a lot of pre-built integrations as well. So it's like kind of like downloading the extension. The apps in Shopify work good. Magento, they usually work good out of the box, but sometimes you have to fix them yourselves or they're incompatible. This is part of just managing your own thing, and when you have that level of customization on Shopify, it's an overhead, and Magento, sorry, it's an overhead that you have to take care of. But yeah, if like you're a big company and you are going to try to customize Shopify as much as you can by doing the template and by building custom third-party apps or even custom integrations. So let's say if you're using a very unknown ERP for a specific set of requirements, you're still going to drop a boatload of money on that. That's the idea that you're just gonna pay $80 a month and we're all gonna do the kumbaya and everything's gonna work, that sometimes can be misleading.
Yeah, it depends on the business owner too. If they want to start optimizing or making their lives complicated, then that's what they do. How's the speed of Shopify?
It's pretty good. Built-in auto scaling on the back end. No one's really supposed to know that, but I got some privy to some information. But these are all things you would do on any sort of cloud architecture in Magento. In theory, if you, with the power you have and potential power you have in Magento, you can get a site faster than you can in Shopify. Because you could just, tamper with settings more. You control your architecture. But I don't think speed is a big issue in Shopify either.
Okay.
It can scale. Magento can scale too, and Magento can be, if set up properly, Redis, Varnish, all those caching systems. You auto scale yourself. Can be ultra fast. Ultra fast.
Nice. So Jason, listen, thank you so much for taking the time to sit with me and talk about this the Shopify versus Magento. It's definitely something that comes up often in my conversations with prospects and clients. So I appreciate you taking the time. And what I like too, it's really an unbiased opinion, because I know you're a Magento developer, and I know that we sell Magento services. So I'm glad that you were able to put that aside and give an honest opinion.
I mean, listen, we're not just selling
today.
Magento services. So we're arguing Magento services fit for a specific set of clients, and there's no point in selling those services to clients that don't fit that, because we're also e-commerce consultants. We find the right solution for you. We have so many people that come in like, oh, I got this sort of business, this type of sales, and I only need this type of customizations. Okay, this platform is good for you with this integration.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, that's called doing our jobs.
Yeah, that's good. That's great. I appreciate that.